Where was your first internship, and did you have any connections or did you apply cold? What are your thoughts on the spray and pray method of essentially blasting out a bunch of resumes and applications and just waiting for them to get back to you? Do you think cover letters are essential for landing a job? There are debates about traditional black and white one-page resume versus colorful design resumes. How do you build credibility to land your first internship? How can students use LinkedIn to increase their chances of landing an internship?
Hey guys, it's Vanette. Recently, I've been getting a ton of questions about finding your very first internship. And although I managed to do that, I realized that I'm no expert on this space. And so I'm starting a series where I invite some of my connections who have interned at super cool places like Tesla, Intel, and Goldman Sachs to share their stories. I'm also hoping to get some university recruiters on my channel as well to help you guys out. I am so excited for my very first guest. Her name is Basant, and she's kind of a big deal on LinkedIn. She has almost 30,000 followers, over 6 million post views. So the fact that she's coming on to this channel, I think we should all be very grateful. Her YouTube and LinkedIn are down below. And if you want to message her, tell her that you saw her here first.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be joined here with Basant.
Hi, everyone.
So we're just going to dive right into the questions. So first, what's your name? What was your major and where did you go to school?
Sure. So my name is Basant. I'm from Egypt. I actually majored in marketing, but I pivoted into sales after graduation. And I went to school in a small city called Bonn here in Germany.
Where was your first internship, and did you have any connections or did you apply cold?
Really good question. So my first internship was at Intel. And looking back, having no connections, I'm still pretty confused as to how I got the role, to be honest, because Intel's a pretty big company. But yeah, I cold applied.
Can you walk us through from application to offer at Intel?
So essentially, I sent in my resume and I waited for a few weeks, and then a recruiter got back to me. And then I just had an initial phone call with one of the hiring managers. And then the second stage was that I held a presentation for the entire team on like a project I worked on. So projects are super important in college. And it's funny, I spoke about a project I did in high school. So I was a yearbook editor-in-chief back then. So I spoke about something we did related to that, how I managed the team and all. And I got the role. So regardless of the experience, it's always relevant, I think, regardless of when you did it.
Now, question number 4, what are your thoughts on the spray and pray method of essentially blasting out a bunch of resumes and applications and just waiting for them to get back to you?
Awful. Do not recommend 1 out of 10. If you look at the current recruitment climate, in general, you are not the only person applying anymore. Like, it's not just you and 100 people, it's thousands. Like, I'm seeing some scary numbers next to the specific job rec. The recruiter or the hiring manager needs to look at your resume and say, okay, they're perfect. They have everything we're looking for. And if you pray and spray, that unfortunately is not what happened.
Question number 5, do you think cover letters are essential for landing a job, and did you apply with cover letters?
As with a lot of things in recruitment, it's not a yes or no question because, for example, if you look at the big tech companies, which is essentially what I was applying to, they don't have time to look at resumes. So the likelihood that they'll get to your cover letter, if you do include it, is quite low. I would say like non-existent, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you're applying to a marketing agency or, for example, like a startup or something, they are more likely to read those because they're trying to really find a good cultural fit.
Question number 6, there are debates about traditional black and white one-page resume versus colorful design resumes. And of course, there's not one right answer, but which one do you use?
To be completely honest with you, in college, I had a lot of professors just say, like, you need something super different. You need to stand out. You need to do something, like, really designful and so. But, when I spoke to a few recruiters who worked at Google and Facebook, they actually mentioned that they prefer something that's a bit more standard and just easy to read. Because if you think about it, if a recruiter needs to get through, I don't know, 100 resumes in the next hour, they don't want to be like, oh, what is this? I can't even find anything I'm looking for because it's not standard. I always say focus on the content.
Question number 7, what did your resume look like approximately prior to your first internship at Intel?
Oh, my first resume did not look good, I have to say. I look back at it and I'm like, I really have no idea how I got hired. To be honest, I didn't quantify my experience. It's super important to add numbers in and really showcase your skills. Because if you say, for example, I'm a good communicator versus I'm a good communicator who's worked with 100 stakeholders, that hits different. Don't focus on tasks, focus on impact. There's always going to be a before and after. If you analyze something must have happened with that information. Something increased. If it's even that if you were doing more admin related work, which was actually my more relevant experience at Intel, if you went from 3 meetings, which is your before, and then you changed that to 2 meetings, that's already a percentage that you can kind of think about, and that's an efficiency change.
Yeah.
Increased efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. I think my first couple drafts, like I was a lifeguard and a swim instructor, and on my resume, I just talked more about the duties of a lifeguard and swim instructor, but most people already know what a lifeguard is responsible for. So when you put impact, like saying I saved 2 people from a near drowning, like that hits differently to recruiters and to hiring managers for sure. Question number 8, I think this one's a big one. How do you build credibility to land your first internship?
That's a really good question. It's super tricky. I definitely remember this whole kind of like, I need an internship, but I can't get an internship because I need another internship to get that first other internship.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. They're always looking for whoever has the most experience. But I think when people think experience, they always think it has to be an internship or it has to be like a legitimate job that you have a contract with. You have so many ways to stand out in your resume that doesn't have to be work experience. So, if you have a big goal like Google, for example, and you work in a technical field, for example, they have hackathons and 3 competitions that happen every single year. They usually give you a ranking out of like a few thousand people, but you can say, for example, I was in the top 20%. I was in the top 50%. Google also has certifications that relate to tech and business. So those are already 2 things that you've added that also relate to the company. So if you were to apply to Google for this fall for their internships, they're looking through your resume and you look like a huge kind of brand fanboy or girl, right? And that's a great thing because then they'll see like, oh, they love our company, we should hire them. When I was in college, what I did to gain a bit of experience was I worked with Adobe, but in their student ambassador program. I think ambassador programs are a great way to not have kind of like very legitimate kind of work experience that's a bit hard to get, but you kind of meet in the middle. It's something you can do on campus. It's a really great way to stand out in your application. I think my last tip would be projects. So I think especially now, there's so much you can do for the community with everything going on. Let's say you're very passionate about healthcare, you want to work in marketing for that. Perhaps there's a dentist who's in your local community is unfortunately struggling because of everything going on. Make a business plan, try and help that person out, like really dive into your community and build something.
I really believe in that point of doing side projects. For example, like I landed my first internship in ed tech startup, and part of the reason why my application was pushed through the funnel was because my YouTube channel is based on university videos and stuff like that. And I had no idea. I just wanted to do it for fun. But then that's a side project that in the recruiter's eyes was something that they were looking for. So question number 9, in your opinion, do recruiters care about extracurriculars and your school's reputation?
Honestly, from the people I've worked with and through my own personal experience, I always say that your extracurriculars, your impact, who you are as a person as well, because I always say we all have a very unique story. We all have something very unique to us. Like we all have these adversities that kind of shape us. And to be honest, I think that speaks a lot more to people than where you went to school.
If a certain company only recruits from the same 7 schools, that's a lack of diversity. You need new ideas, and that's what brings companies forward. This is a huge question, but in general, how can students use LinkedIn to increase their chances of landing an internship?
Oh, I could talk about this for hours. I
Yeah.
love LinkedIn. So I actually started, just as a background, I started writing on LinkedIn pieces of content when I was 21, so about 2 years ago. And it was when I was a student, and I noticed this huge student kind of community kind of growing. Like we said earlier, content is a great way to showcase like your hard and soft skills and what you have to offer. So me showcasing my story and being really honest, like I'm looking for this specific role, I'm looking for this job. That's how people remember you. When a recruiter is looking for a specific person, let's say someone who's very resilient, if that's your personal brand and that's a huge part of your story, then recruiters are going to find you on LinkedIn and going to ask to hire you. Not a lot of people are actually posting content. So I know it's super intimidating, especially when you're a bit younger, at the end of junior year. And a Facebook recruiter actually sent me a message on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, how are you doing? Do you want to send me, do you want to come to our offices here in Berlin, and you can come and we'll talk to you about like graduate positions and all. And I was just like, is this a prank? Like what? It was real. They did invite me to their offices, and it was all through LinkedIn. And that was me as a passive user. I wasn't even doing anything on the platform at that point.
Question number 11. What is more effective in your opinion, LinkedIn messaging or cold emailing?
When I read this question, I had to think about it a bit because I actually have never in my life sent a cold email.
Oh,
To
okay.
be completely honest, it's never been my strategy because of how effective LinkedIn messaging is. As a student, you have a lot of power when you're networking. There is like a student card that we can use when we're a bit younger because we're not like aggressive or someone that wants something. We just want to learn. We just want to network with people and just understand more about jobs and all.
Another thing is follow up. Sometimes they're busy. Send that follow up, send that message, and take that chance. Question number 12. Are there specific companies or industry students with no previous experience should target or pay more attention to?
I wouldn't say so, to be honest. I think you're capable, like I'm a true believer in that you are capable of doing anything if you set your mind to it. It's a matter of, again, making your experience relevant to whatever it is you want to apply to. People to think about right now is also specifically because of the big elephant in the room. A lot of industries are seeing a lot of decline. While some industries are seeing an immense growth. It's important to distinguish what you like to do. That's a very important part of the process, but because of everything changing so quickly, it's important to change with it and think about what is out there that will match what you like.
The last question, if there's one thing students should take away from this interview, what is it?
Quality over quantity, 100%. Really focus on what you have to offer and really making your resume solid, 100% solid. Have work experience that you've related to what you're applying to. I think it's very important to network, but you can network as much as you can. You can have all the networks in the world, but if you don't have a solid resume and a solid story behind you of why they need to hire you, networking isn't going to take you as far as you think.
Thank you so much for joining me on this very first episode of Internship Help. And so can students feel free to message you or reach out? Where can they connect with you further?
Absolutely. I'm always open to connecting with people on LinkedIn, so always feel free to send me a personalized message so I know where you're coming from. Otherwise, I'm not going to actually accept it. Always leave a personalized message when you're connecting. And I also have a YouTube channel. It's called Basant Blast, where I post funny videos about career stuff. So make sure to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.